Good vibe, good vibe, good vibe. Hey, 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 good morning, Vietnam. It is Election Day 220, and we are sitting here in beautiful downtown Corona with Shotgun Pastor Sean Kelly at Hope Recovery Center. How are you, my bro?
I am awesome. How are you?
You are awesome. You are awesome indeed. And I have as my special guest today somebody that's truly special, a really good friend. I love this man. I've known almost 20 years, like man. That, yeah. Brilliant guy. He's a life coach extraordinaire. He's got men, women flocking to him, and we're just going to have to learn a lot more about him. And as we share today, his name is Anthony Marshall. How are you, brother?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Listen, the audience loves you, man. You're going to big applause back there. You know, the reason why I started doing that Robin Williams Good Morning Vietnam thing is because whoever wins this election, I think we're battening down the hatches for some serious upheavals. I mean, if the riots prior to this have anything to do with what's going to happen after Election Day, look out, okay? I mean, like Pastor Sean, a lot of guys I know, it's like they're getting locked and loaded because you don't know what's going to end up happening, right, Pastor Sean? I mean, it's so scary out there.
What are you talking about, Willis? I'm locked and loaded. You can't be announcing that. No,
I mean locked and loaded with prayer. What do you mean? What
exactly.
do you think?
Exactly. It's just been in your mind. You're getting focused.
Come on now. We're Christians here. You know, but I mean, I'm watching the news and I'm looking at...
I thought I had that somewhere. Okay.
You know, yeah, that was funny. Thank you. You're looking at the news, and I'm watching how they're boarding up Rodeo Drive. Have you guys seen this?
Really?
Yes. I mean, they've gone downtown and literally boarded it up and barricaded the whole block of Rodeo Drive with metal fences held together by lock chains and boards across every bit of Rodeo Drive. Okay, that's why I said, good morning, Vietnam. We don't know what to expect here. I mean, this is America, and it's like Civil War is kind of starting to break out everywhere, you know? And it's heartbreaking to me being gone as long as I've had. I mean, I've been gone since May?
May 27th or something. I looked at it earlier this morning. I was like, wow, that's why it took me so long to get ready, because I was looking for your intro music. I couldn't find it. I'm looking for your logos. I'm like, what happened? But in the time, I've switched computers and everything else. But yeah.
No, yeah, we changed everything around. But anyways, to be back after that time, the whole COVID thing just started to come into swing with the masks and all that stuff. And I'm thinking sooner or later, Anthony, the mask thing is going to start going by the wayside, and people are going to get tired of it. But I mean,
and I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake.
Yes.
Fake.
Yes.
We are fighting that.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. Listen, after being in Hollywood, you've worked in Hollywood, and Sean, you've been in politics. Fake news is everywhere. I mean, you don't know who to believe anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, like, forget CNN. That's their ratings are just down in the. But you know, it's crazy. Who do you trust anymore?
Yeah.
You know,
it's
who do you believe?
Exposed.
You know, but really, you know, Anthony, I'm really glad you're here, and I've been wanting you to come on for a long time. You've been somebody I dearly love, and I mean that as a brother, and you've been a blessing in my life. And I want to hear about what you're doing. You're more than a life coach. You work with men and women. To kind of tell me and the audience what it is that you do and what you're passionate about.
Well, I'm passionate looking at the landscape, and it's kind of a part of its effects are seen in what we're even seeing in the streets right now.
Yeah.
And I really feel that I see that a lot of our males are lost. We have the highest percentage of fatherlessness across the board of all people, regardless of ethnicity. Worse in some communities, more so than others.
Right.
But we have the highest percentage that we've ever had in the history of the world.
Wow.
And a lot of what is going on, this lawlessness, this lack of direction, this high levels of emotionality and the so easily misled and emotionally manipulated, the lack of making decisions based on empirical data evaluation instead of emotions.
Right.
A lot of that can be traced back to the absentee fathers that we have in a lot of these communities.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And again, it's across the board. It's said to be 40% across all Americans. And then you have communities like my community, black community, upwards of 70%, over 70%. So, and I always figure if we know those numbers, then that means the numbers that we don't know about would actually be higher.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and its effects can be seen.
Oh, man.
In not just the lawlessness, but the lack of direction, the lack of principles. Because typically when I was growing up, there were a lot more men in particularly the black community.
Right.
There were a lot of married couples.
Right.
I had a stepdad, even though I didn't have my natural father in my life, but I did have a stepfather.
Right.
And then a lot of the guys in the church family that I grew up, there were plenty of men in the church, plenty of men in the neighborhood, in the community. And they took it upon themselves to speak into the lives of the young boys. Whatever boy was in their sphere of influence, it may not have been my father, but it may have been my best friend's dad. If he saw me going down a wrong path or behaving, they nip things in the bud. You're being a tattletale or trying to justify your own behavior. Well, he did it, you know, and so forth. They would pull you to the side and go, look, worry about yourself.
Exactly.
Stop telling on other people and make sure that you're doing the right thing.
Right.
They would use those teachable moments.
Right.
You know, and
valuable teachable moments.
Yeah.
You know? Go ahead, man.
And those instructions in manhood are very important.
Oh, man. Yes.
And they're missing.
Yes.
Because those are, we have a lack of honor, lack of integrity.
Right.
A lack of accountability
Big time.
and responsibility.
Right.
And typically when you have the men in the community, they will hold the boys and the young men in their influence, nephews and sons as well. They will hold their feet to the fire to those things.
That's right.
But when you don't have them around, unfortunately, they're kind of left to their own devices.
Right.
And, very few mothers out there. It's no knock on women. It's just not their job, and it's just not. It's just not their complement. I always say men and women are literally, even physically, a two-piece puzzle.
Amen.
That fit together.
Amen.
Right?
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
so when you build a picture, you ever made a puzzle when you were a kid?
Oh, of course. Love that.
So you need all the pieces to when you're finished, you put all the pieces together and they make a puzzle.
Right.
We can't have all the same pieces.
Right.
And get the picture.
Right.
All
Exactly.
the pictures and all the pieces of the puzzle are different, and by making them interlock and fit where they belong together and they work synergistically together, that's how you form this one picture.
Oh, wow.
Such is the relationship between the man and the woman.
Hey, man, that's awesome. That's a great analogy, man.
Yeah, and so we need that. It's missing.
Right.
There's a reason why only a man and a woman can create life together.
That's right.
Because they're both needed. They're both necessary. Not just for the act, for the contributing the DNA, but for the after birth and the raising of and the rearing of the child. The mother brings the sympathetic things and obviously the nurturing and the caring, and not just to the child directly, but also in many ways to the father, to get the dad to kind of calm down sometimes and pull back a little bit. Maybe you're being a little bit too harsh, honey. Because that voice of reason, that's okay, and bring out the man's compassion, and sometimes where we might be a little bit too disciplinarian. And then the opposite is true. We need to be there when mom is just clearly being manipulated and getting played and listening to too many whans, and it's just like, no, they have to suffer the consequences of their actions because, we're looking down the road. You're not raising a little boy or a little girl. You're raising a woman.
That's right.
You're raising a man.
That's right.
And we have to look at what kind of person they're going to be in their adulthood is what we're after.
Precisely. And I could say so many things about that, but this day and age, we were talking about this earlier. Little Johnny comes to me and my wife and says, I think I want to start wearing a dress and be a girl. Now, anymore, a lot of parents these days are saying, let's get him a dress and then let's take him to the doctor. And the doctor says, absolutely. Let's get him hormone shots and a therapy. And that's all play into this childhood's fantasy. And he's so smart at 8 years old, he really knows what he wants to be. And I told you, when I was in school, they asked me what I want to be at 8 years old. And I said, I want to be Batman. Right? It was Johnny wanted to be a cowboy. She wanted to be a veterinarian, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to be Batman. I really knew what I was going to grow up to when I got older. But today, speak on that. Speak on the fact that these kids are having no mom and dad. It's like mom and dad are blurring the lines of femininity and masculinity.
Yeah, it's tragic. You're basically, the kids are basically being maimed.
I totally agree.
They're being maimed.
Yes.
You're going to cut off and remove body parts and puberty blockers and things like that.
Yes.
And then the funny thing is that there are people who are in their adult life now who've gone through that, and they are warning against it.
Yep.
Where's the press on that?
Big time. You never hear anything.
No.
You know, and can I just say something really quickly, because you said something that's really important. I've known 3 transgendered women, men that became women. Okay, one I actually became pretty friendly with, and actually 2 of them led them to the Lord afterwards. Okay, which God is awesome, and He loves us right where we're at, no matter what happens or what our sin was, or whatever. But they said the same thing, every one of them. Now, one girl committed suicide. She was a miserable wreck. Now, if she was so happy that she transitioned from a man to a woman, why was she that miserable? Why is it 40% of that transgendered people commit suicide if they're so happy with their end result? It's a lie. It's a huge lie. And the 2 women that I talked to, men that I talked to, both said, I wish I never did that.
Yeah.
Never.
You know, depression results from when the answers you're being given don't solve the problem that you actually have.
That's right. Exactly, man.
Because everybody's telling you, yay, we celebrate the road that you're on. Do you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then they do it. And the depression is still there.
Yeah.
It didn't go away.
That's right.
So how much more of a deep despair do you have when you did everything that you thought was supposed to make you happy, and it didn't work?
Right. That's right.
Now what do you do? That's even more depressing.
Precisely.
You know?
Precisely.
And you don't, and without God, without the Creator,
yeah,
where do you turn? Because then that means there's nothing left.
Right. Anything goes.
I did everything I was supposed to make me
Right.
happy, and I'm not.
Right. Right.
Now what do I do? That's why you have high levels of promiscuity in these communities, and drug abuse and so forth like that as well too. Because you're trying to numb the pain. It's unfortunately they're lied to because they're made to believe that it's from outside in, the shame that they feel.
Yes.
But it's not true. It's from the inside out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I was just thinking, the problem is, like even back when I was in high school or in junior high school, people had they had an understanding of the moral plumb line of God. In other words, more people would say, yes, God is the God who sets the plumb line between good and evil, right and wrong. Now everybody's taking God out of the equation and says right and wrong is whatever I feel like it is today. You know, and you can't tell me that I'm wrong, because shame on you. It's my life. I want to do it my way. You know, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems. And Pastor Sean, I just had a question for you. You are a pastor. You're working with people. Do you see what I'm talking about as far as it's like we don't have a morality plumb line anymore. It's like anything goes.
Yeah.
You know,
big time.
Right? Do you see that? And I feel like this is true too. I feel like a lot of the church is acquiescing to that me generation and make me feel good, happy feel, and then we're going away from the biblical sound doctrine of, guess what? You're a sinner and you need a savior. You know, I mean,
the absolute truth. My pastor has done a couple sermons on that, and it's just really, it's sort of scary, to see what we're doing and what this world's doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if anybody has half a brain, you really take a look at this, the more godless we become, the more insane the world gets.
Absolutely.
The more out of control people are.
Absolutely.
The more crazed people are. The more lost people are. The more depressed people are. The more drug addicts we have. The more domestic violence. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, because if I'm just stardust, then whatever I feel like is okay.
That's right.
I slapped my wife because she deserved it. You know, she burnt my freaking meal. So I smacked her.
Right.
I'm wrong? Why?
Exactly.
Why?
Which is why relativism doesn't work.
There it is right there.
It's illogical. Because 1 + 1 can't equal 2 for me and 4 for him and 10 for them and all that other stuff like that.
Exactly.
It lacks organization, and its only outcome is chaos.
That's exactly right.
There's nothing else.
Yep.
Because you have to have lines. It's like, look, games are great as long as they're played within the lines.
In the borders, exactly.
Yeah. But,
exactly.
I mean, just imagine you're watching a football game and a guy receives a snap, the running back, and he goes and runs off into the stands and starts going all in the, goes by the hot dogs, grabs a hot dog and goes all over the place. And you're like, what is this guy doing?
Right.
He's like, I'm going my own way.
That's so good.
Like,
It's so true.
No, you dummy. The game has to be played. Well, why are you oppressing me by making me stay in those lines?
I was hungry. I wanted a hot dog.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's not the way it works. We have to have guidelines. We have to have order.
Yep.
And it's fair for everybody because we
Right.
all have to play within the same guidelines.
Right.
Right? As long as we're all doing it, it's fair.
Right.
So,
Right. No, watch this. That's such a great point, Anthony. So off the heels of that, they did a study with young kids. And you know how, like, normally before all this craziness happened with COVID, you got a yard that's got fenced in a schoolyard, elementary schoolyard, and kids are running and playing and laughing and having a ball, going nuts. It's just wonderful pandemonium out there on the playground, right?
Yeah.
And I used to love watching that. I just love the joy of young kids just being young kids and having a ball, right? Adults need to do that, by the way, a lot more often. But anyways, so what they did was they took the fence away as a test to see what would happen, so that these kids could run free, they could run in the streets, so they could go nuts. And you'd think the same kids going crazy would go everywhere. They found that they started huddling together in smaller groups. Why? Because they felt safe within boundaries. Boundaries are important. Like you said, we have to have boundaries.
yes.
Okay, what if I just decided to say, well, it doesn't matter what the speed limit says, or that stoplights are no good because I'm better than that. Hello.
Right.
Air traffic control here. You instead of vectoring left, just vector straight away down, straight to the ground, and take your best shot.
Right.
I mean, we have to have boundaries. It only makes sense. But all of a sudden, now these days, anything goes.
Well, people don't understand that it's by design.
Hello, say that again.
They don't understand what they're taking part in.
Yes. Right.
Remember back in the 60s, was it the Mamas and the Papas had the song, This is the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius?
Oh my gosh.
Most
I
people
remember
don't
the
even
song.
know what that really means. We jam along to a song.
Yep.
That's what the song was about. The Age of Aquarius is about a time where there will be no rules.
Really?
Where everybody does, as the Word of God says, what is right in his own mind.
Right.
Yep. Right?
Wow.
The spirit of Thelema, do as thou wilt.
Right. Which came from Aleister Crowley. Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, which, by the way, he was deemed the wickedest man in the world.
Yeah.
Terrible. So what you're saying,
Many allege and assert that they have evidence that guys like Larry Flint and Hugh Hefner were inserted into the mainstream media for the purpose of getting America to start lowering the mores.
Yes.
Getting the women to start showing more, making these things okay.
Right.
Right. Getting men to start to revere. And even, I thought about it the other day, a character that I grew up loving, James Bond.
Right.
Captain Kirk.
Yep.
They slept with all kinds of different women from different planets. Or Captain Kirk from different planets.
Right.
Being that bachelor guy.
Right.
Wanting to get rid of the responsibility of fatherhood. Making that look like you're tied down. Called the ball and chain.
Right.
Where did that come from?
Wow.
All this negativity on the family.
Right.
Not just from the women's perspective with feminism as well, but from the men's perspective, glorifying that lone wolf, that stud, that handsome, debonair guy, let me get all the chicks and beat them myself so I'll have my own environment, be successful, look cool, drive the Aston Martin, get the chicks, and not be tied down.
Right.
Right.
And you know what? That's so powerful. Unfortunately, we lost Sean Connery this week. He passed away.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you bring that up, and it's just so amazing you said that. But he was my hero. Right? I mean, I agree with you. I thought James Bond was the coolest guy in the world when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. Even when I was in my teens, I got how cool is that?
Yeah.
But when I started really getting close to the Lord and really wanting to know what a real man looked like, because I thought, it's the real man right there, you know. But, you know, I'm watching a guy smoke. I'm watching a guy drink martinis, and I'm watching a guy sleep with women, right and left, and then kill people. Well, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. You know, I want to pattern my life after that. You know, what you don't see is James Bond, and really in his 50s, is he's got lung cancer, he's an alcoholic, and nobody wants to be around him because he's a bore.
Yeah.
You know, he's fat, he's balding, and nobody wants to be with James Bond anymore.
Remembering the good old days.
Yeah. And so they glorify that moment in time, and we forget that time moves on. What happens?
So true.
Right? Time moves on and things change. James gets older. That's why Sean Connery wasn't doing James Bond in 2015.
Yeah.
That would have been a joke. Okay?
Right.
Right? Sean Connery, I'm James Bond. No, you're an old fart.
Right.
I mean, come on. You run around in Austin Martin picking up chicks, smoking a cigarette, drinking a martini. Are you kidding me?
Getting winded.
Getting winded, smoking a cigarette. I mean,
Chasing the bad guy gets winded.
oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Wait up.
I'll catch you later. Right? I mean, but that's so true. We don't look at that.
Yeah. It's
We
not
look at-
sustainable.
Right. No, that's exactly right. It isn't sustainable.
Everything that all the pleasures of today are not sustainable.
That's exactly right.
You know, it's just not sustainable. And everything that the world promises that's going to make you happy, it's not sustainable. If you go down the road of the beautiful picture that they paint for you,
right?
If you live that life, the bachelor life, the studly life, getting all the chicks and everything like that, you're going to wind up a lonely old man.
Definitely.
By yourself.
How many guys you know that are like that? I know a ton of guys like that, especially coming out of Hollywood.
No kids, no family, no anything, no purpose.
No. Who
what
are
did you do
with
your life?
Exactly. Who are you? What
you
have you
had
done
girls and you had fun.
Right.
But the fun it's fleeting, man. Book of Ecclesiastes. Boy, what a great book.
Yes. Powerful book. A lot of people don't read it, but you're absolutely right. It's so true.
The reality.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like hones in on the reality. Like all this is fleeting. It's vanity.
Vanity.
Life is just a vapor.
Vanity. Right.
Dude, you and I were just in high school.
Right.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we were sitting in that stairwell at that party and ministering to people that are at a rave, right? Remember that?
That was like 2006 or whatever that was. Yeah.
But it's a blink, and here we are again.
Yeah.
A blink. And so much happens between now and then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were talking about that. I went to an 8-year addiction period. It was just horrid in my life. But by the grace of God, he pulled me through. I want to talk about something that is so important. I'll get back to this manhood issue. You made an analogy of a warrior dressed up, is packed to go and sent out to war, but nobody tells him what the heck he's fighting for. I mean, can you unpack that again? Because that's super powerful.
Yeah. It's just kind of like where we see our young males these days. They have this testosterone. They have this innate thing that God put within them. They want to branch out on their own. They want to be in control of their life.
Right.
Want some independence. You know, and in many cases, I know for me, I realize now that my rebellion was just not knowing how to assert my maleness, meaning that I don't want somebody telling me what to do.
Right.
It's not because I'm a jerk. It's just that I hated that feeling of being restricted, to being under someone else's control, and even still now, which was probably now I look at it as a part of an entrepreneurial type of a spirit, not wanting to somebody to dictate to me what I have to do and where I have to be, and then I hated the feeling of being treated as and thought of as less than someone else. And I always felt that nobody's better than me.
Right.
I always felt, not that I felt like I'm as good as anybody else.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And in companies that I've worked for and things, I've been around some very high level people, and I go into these situations feeling like there's nobody. I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care billionaires. I've worked with a billionaire, and I never felt that like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah, bow down.
And what really annoyed me is if I ever felt that other people I was working amongst felt that I should be that way.
Right. There's plenty of that out there.
And it's like, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
No. Nobody's better than me.
Right.
And the flip side of that is because I felt that way about myself, I felt that way about other people as well, too.
Exactly.
Watching people that maybe had a rank or titles and things that had power in a company that wasn't on the same level as mine, and watching them be mistreated by other people.
Exactly.
I didn't tolerate that either.
Right.
Be like, don't talk to him like that.
Exactly.
You do not talk. And I remember when the lady would come around, the lady would clean the offices and stuff like that, and I would help her do things and pick up the trash for her, because she had a big bag and it was heavy, and I'd put it in the thing for her.
Yeah.
And she would be like, oh, thank you. I'd be like, no, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
awesome.
so much. You know? And that's how I see people like that. You know, I will give more respect to the guy who is the custodian in the building.
Oh, yes.
Every much the same level of respect as the guy who's the CEO and the president.
Absolutely.
They're treated no different.
Right.
No different. That guy's not going to get any more respect from me just because he has a title.
Exactly.
You know, and I never refer to any man as my boss, ever. God is my boss.
Amen.
You're just a man.
Right.
Right? And that's the way I see it.
Right.
Fear no man but God.
Amen.
You know?
Amen. So I love those analogies, man. When men get suited up for war, like we were talking about, and the commanding officer says go, without a direction or out of purpose, I see this happening to men all day long, right? You were saying something about that.
Yes. That's what we get now. We're seeing it in the culture.
Right.
A lot of boys have that innate want, that will. They need a purpose.
Right. There it is, right there.
They need a purpose.
Right.
They don't know what they're supposed to do, where to fit in. And it was what we were saying earlier. It's kind of like having a soldier outfitted with all the gear.
Right.
You know, you've got everything. You've got your handheld weapon here. You got your other, your M16, and then being dropped off in the Congo,
right.
Or in the middle of Kuwait or somewhere, and it's like with no instructions.
Right.
It's like you have the tools
right.
to make something happen.
Right.
And like I was saying earlier, unfortunately, what happens today is without the instruction, you're going to get two types of reactions. Mm-hmm. One boy is going to get in that circumstance, and he's going to hear stuff shuffling around in the trees, and he's going to cower and try to find somewhere to hide. He's going to retreat. Right. He's going to contract.
Yes.
And then you have others, by not knowing what to do with all that, what they have to work with, will go into the town and to the townspeople and just start to rain down tyranny on people. Yep. Using the weapons, using the guns, using their strength and their might in the wrong way.
Exactly.
Thinking that's manhood. Raping the women, beating up the townspeople, taking things, taking the spoils.
Right.
Oh, there's gold here, there's whatever, and just taking things for themselves.
Mine. Yeah, that's all for me. Right, yeah. That's mine.
And both are wrong.
Oh, yeah. Right. No, without a doubt.
It's wrong to be the coward.
Right.
And it's wrong to be the tyrannical jerk who's running around using your power in the wrong way. Because there's nothing cool about bullying people.
Oh.
Because predators know their victims.
Yes.
Went through this growing up on the streets of Philadelphia, where I'm from, and in schools. Yeah. Some tough schools.
Yeah.
And I never got bullied. Why? Well, predators know their victims.
They do. You're absolutely right.
And I remember this was a really big thing in the media some years back about kids being bullied and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
And their certain factions, their remedy to that is to change the bully. Make the bully weaker.
Hello, that's right.
The bully's not going to change and be weak.
Exactly.
What we need to do is focus on making the weak strong.
Yes, that's awesome.
And teaching these kids that, look, they're cowards when you stand up to them.
That's so true.
They only bully the ones who let them.
Right.
No, human beings will only do to you what you allow.
That's right.
And that even goes for children.
Yep.
I've seen this in parents. I remember when my daughter was young, people would say, "You're so lucky that your kid is well behaved." I'm like, luck?
Hello.
I wouldn't tolerate anything else, and she knows that.
Yeah, I work on it every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She just came out of the chute like that?
Yeah, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, because their kids throw tantrums, and they just think that's the luck of the draw. I just got a kid that throws tantrums. No, you put up with it.
That's right. Yep.
That's why they do it.
You're allowing the kid to dictate how your life should be instead of being a parent, which is what a parent's supposed to do.
Right.
I think of a perfect example to me would be like Antifa. They're running wild. They're running amok. Yep. They're men and women that really have found a common purpose in chaos. They don't really. I don't think they really understand what they're doing or why they're doing it. Yeah. I mean, they have a generality of the police is bad. Okay, have you ferreted that out? White cops kill black men all the time. Wrong. White cops kill way more white people than they do by far. Right. And what gets me is, what about the horrible amount of black on black crime that goes on? Why aren't these people like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, why aren't they going in and doing something about that?
They don't get paid to do that.
Thank you.
They don't get paid.
Doesn't make money. No money in that.
Those people that are a part of those factions over there, on whatever you want to call them, liberals, left, they're not in it to solve problems. If you'll ever notice anybody that actually tries to solve a problem, like say Ice Cube recently, or anybody like that,
I don't know what happened. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit.
He came up with a plan. He calls it Contract with Black America.
Okay.
He got some scholars, I don't know who they are, but drew up a kind of contract of things that they would like for the government to get involved in to help black people. That's the long and short of it. And so, because he went, he reached out to both camps, Democrats and Republicans. Biden's camp said, "Let us win the election first, and we'll get back to you." Trump's camp said, "Okay, can we meet with you tomorrow?" Immediately.
Wow.
Took action immediately.
That's awesome. That's
and
awesome.
They met with him right away.
Wow.
And they took some of his suggestions that he had in his plan and put it in the plan that they had already drafted up already. So they made some amendments and some inclusions and stuff like that.
Wow, that's awesome.
So now, what does CNN and MSNBC and, Cuomo over at CNN and all these people do? They start trying to come at Ice Cube like he's wrong somehow. Well, how could you go and talk to those people? Like as if he needs their permission.
Right.
And this is a problem that I have with those people on those progressive leftists. Is just like, first of all, they're against men.
Yes, oh yes, they are.
And then it's not even just the fact they're against men. It's almost just to say, who are you, black man, to not get our approval? We didn't let you go and think on your own and go and try to get a solution accomplished.
Wow.
You didn't run that by us first.
Yeah, hello.
Right?
Wow.
The nerve, the way they speak.
So condescending.
To men,
yes.
especially black men.
Yes.
Like, one of the things that I can't rock with the left, as they say, is because one of the problems I have with them is not only they're against fathers, they're against men.
Yes, they are.
They're against the black man especially, and all men, presiding over our own families and our children and our communities.
Yep.
They don't want any man to do that.
Nope.
And look, anybody who has any bit of discernment can see. I'm from Philly, man.
Right.
And I can see that this attack on the straight white man is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
We are in a real live game of Survivor.
Yeah.
You know how Survivor is played, right?
Yeah.
In Survivor, you're trying to win the game.
Right.
But what you do is you manipulate the people around you to help you defeat the strongest enemy.
Right.
Your enemy.
Right.
And then you're systemically going to eliminate all of them as well, and you'll be the king of the hill, the last one standing. That is what we're in.
It's a great analogy, man.
And they're using the black community as a pawn in their real life game of Survivor to help them defeat their enemy, which are the conservatives, right? Tell us they're racist. Tell us all these horrible things about them. Join with us.
Right.
Help them push all their agendas. Get on board with this. Get on board with this. And it's kind of like I look at the analogy like a battering ram. You know, the SWAT need to do?
Yes.
They need to use that ram and boom, once they knock that door down,
Right.
do they carry the ram around with them inside the house?
Toss it aside.
They throw it aside.
That's right. That's done. It's done its job. Goodbye.
Done.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing.
Wow.
And the attack on the straight white male is just the first step in the attack on all men.
Absolutely.
Period.
That's so powerful, man. I mean, you know, I could say that, and everybody go, yeah, you're so full of baloney, you know, blah blah blah. But the fact that you're seeing that and you have that kind of insight it's just so powerful, and it's so right on. But I would imagine, like, you know, certain parts of, you know, black society would say some disparaging things about you for making those kind of comments. You know,
they might, but they won't say it to my face.
No, they're not.
Because, you know, there are these battles that go on, and I think one of the battles that we're having right now is the masculine against the feminine principle.
Yeah.
And
definitely
most guys who have grown up with strong male leadership in their life get the things that we're saying.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's the AKA, which is really popular online now, the simps. The cucks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
The emasculated simps, the betas.
Yep.
They're the ones in that camp.
Yep. Totally. You know, I can prove that really quickly. Just take a look. And Pastor Sean, I know you I don't know about you, but I get crazy when I watch commercials now of how they depict men, men.
God.
The guys are might as well be wearing floral shirts and pink loafers, and they've got these bizarre haircuts, and all of them are very effeminate. Am I wrong?
Nope.
No, it's everywhere. So it's like they are taking they're emasculating men. Basically.
They're trying to sell that to us.
Absolutely.
And they've been infiltrating the NFL lately. Why ESPN is people can't stand it anymore. They used to have a lot of these women, and there was this one woman, Jamel Hill.
Yes.
She wound up getting tossed out because men got sick and tired. The audience for sports, hello, newsflash, it's predominantly men.
Yeah.
So how dare you bring all your feminist rhetoric and disparaging remarks about men onto a sports platform.
Exactly.
And sit there and try to dictate to men that how horrible we are and we need to listen to you feminists and let you tell us that what we need to be and what we need to say and how we need to act.
Yep.
And now they start with this quarterback gets benched. Oh, it's because he was black and all this other. How about the fact that he sucked?
Sorry, you talking about Kaepernick? Or
no, not Kaepernick.
Else?
That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother issue as well too. But no, I remember a couple of years ago you had Tyrod Taylor, who is now on the Chargers. Now.
Okay.
And that new kid Herbert's just better than him.
Yeah.
He just is.
Right.
But you know, we're waiting for somebody. But when he got benched in Buffalo, when Rex Ryan was still the coach there a few years back, you know, I think Shannon Sharp and a couple other of them, you know, try to make it about race and blah, 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 and this and that and so on and so forth. And it's just like, and even to the point about the Colin Kaepernick thing, Colin Kaepernick was not that good when he was on the bench.
Right. Exactly.
When he started doing these things.
Right.
Let's talk about the play, right? And so then, going back to being little kids and men telling you to worry about yourself and not make stupid excuses for why you should be doing something dumb like everybody else.
Right.
So for many of these simps, the argument is, well, there's white guys that suck at quarterback too. So you're justifying that these guys should have a job
Right.
just because there's other white guys who are not that good. That's not the standard.
No.
Shouldn't your standard be that this black quarterback deserves a starting job because he's just as good as Tom Brady, he's
Right.
just as good as Drew Brees,
That's right.
he's just as good as the best of the best?
Exactly.
Not compare him to the worst of the worst and say, well, he's no worse than
Right.
they are, shouldn't he be?
Right.
That's not how you...
Right.
You don't justify things like that.
No.
Well, we should get to suck too. That's not the way it works.
It's true, though.
And then call them racist.
Yeah, it's true. And what I don't understand...
Feminine
go ahead.
energy
Yeah.
is
go
what
ahead.
that is.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
These are a bunch of mama's boys.
Yeah.
It's that mama's boy energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I don't care if people get upset with me about it. That is so true. We need men to be men.
Right.
You know, and like I said, the commercials, I just want to scream. You know, I mean, I sit there and look at that. You got to be kidding. What is that? That's not a man. He'd get laughed out of high school and when I went to high school, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying they're gay. That's not the issue at all. That's supposed to be our new masculine.
They're trying to recalibrate men.
Exactly.
That is, it's an attempt at social engineering.
Right.
Is what it is.
Exactly.
Those factions who, what is it, only about 10 or 12 different entities control every piece of media?
Yep.
All the television stations,
Yep.
every television station, and obviously the movie studios
Right.
and all these are all the factions that are all aligned together.
That's exactly right.
95 or more percent of all the television shows, all the television networks, radio networks, newspapers are all run by the same faction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they're pushing their narrative onto
right.
the American people
That's
and
right.
getting it over on the weakest minds.
Right.
They're also the same factions who control most of the schools. They're
Yeah,
all
it's
aligned
scary.
together.
That's so scary.
And they're pushing one agenda,
agenda.
one mindset, one point of view. And then they're training these people, they're psychological warfare victims, I call them,
Yeah,
to
that's good.
attack
Right.
anybody who has a different idea or who sees the world a different way.
Isn't that incredible?
Yep.
And I mean, so when you say that, it's so powerful. What do you think the end game is for them? I mean, have you thought about like why are they doing that? Besides the fact that we know as Christians where this is all going to go.
Yeah.
But in their mindset is what exactly? Just because they want to just take all masculinity, femininity, and just blow it by the wayside, and we're all exactly the same, and kumbaya, men are the same as women, and women are the same as men, and that's ridiculous.
It's that, and it's where it comes from. It's the Marxist view.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
They're trying to really push Marxism. And socialism, Marxism, the Hegelian dialectic, people like Hegel. A lot of people, going back to what I said before, many of these people don't know what they're taking part in.
That's exactly
This
right.
stuff's not just happening. This stuff is being moved along systemically
Yep.
and with a plan.
It's
in
by
mind.
design, for
It's
sure.
by design. Well, if you go back to 1989, there was a book called After the Ball.
Okay.
It's a manifesto of how they're going to get people to change, how they're going to mass market homosexuality, and how they were going to do it.
Wow.
If you go read this book,
Wow.
everything they laid out in this book, and then you compare that against the history since the early 1990s,
Right.
they parallel one another.
Wow.
Every step of the way.
Wow.
The insertion of Will and Grace, shows like that,
Yes.
right? The book even says we will use lies and propaganda to accomplish this goal.
Wow.
Blatantly says it in the book. And so and it talks about how we must introduce characters slowly
Right.
into television programs, make them friendly,
Yep.
make them the nice people,
Yep,
and we're
yep,
going to
yep.
paint them in this light, you know, but we can't rush it too much because it'll be rejected.
No.
Also in this book says about how, I don't know if they refer to it as a sect, but those types of the extreme of the sexual deviant, the child molesters,
Yep.
we've got to somehow divorce ourselves from that part of
Wow. Yes.
this sexual,
Yep.
direction. because we've got to somehow divorce ourselves from that part of it.
Right.
Because we can't. If we have that associated with this, they'll never let us in. They'll never lower.
No, that's true.
Their guard.
Right. That's so true.
So
and we also notice that there's I forgot where this is going, but there's Sean, you know about this? There's some kind of a law getting passed that kind of calms down the sentences for people that are pedophilia.
Yeah.
People that
was it Newsom that just did that?
Yeah, I think it was Newsom.
It's called a 10-year rule or something like that. So
yes.
And
if
it's
you're
only
20,
if you're homosexual.
It's only if you're homosexual.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There's a 10-year difference, and I don't know if Newsom has signed it. I know the bill has passed the House and the Senate.
Okay.
I haven't heard, but yeah, it's there. You know, a 24-year-old can consensually sleep with a 14-year-old.
Only if they're homosexual?
Only if they're gay or homosexual.
What does that tell you? How do people not understand? How is that not blatantly obvious to people what the deal is?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And just like I've debated with liberals over this whole transgender, homosexual, I would say, why do we have so many names for the same thing?
Yeah.
A guy who has sex with another man is a homosexual.
Yeah.
A guy who puts on a dress and has sex with another man is still a homosexual. Why do we need to do all these different names for the same thing?
Right. Right.
But I digress. Anyways, but I'm saying I've had debates with homosexual, with people that are saying, well, there's nothing wrong with it, blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Why do you suppose that many, I'm not saying all, I'm saying many of the ones that are guilty of this,
right?
Why do you suppose that these certain homosexuals are making it such a priority to get around children?
Yes.
Do you honestly think they just want to be the kids' friends?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Why do you think that there are men that are dressing little boys in drag and having them dance on stage for grown men doing drag shows? And those men are throwing money at these little boys. Do you think that they just only want to be the boys' friends? They're only supporting their art?
Right.
I mean, is that what you really think?
Yeah. It's like dangling a carrot in front of a horse's face. I mean, come on.
I mean, how do you justify that?
That
there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what? It goes back to what you were talking about, that book, 1989, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like...
After the ball.
It's like throwing a frog in a lukewarm pot of water and heating it up. And the frog doesn't know that it's getting hotter and hotter until it's freaking cooked to death.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't jump out because it's not all of a sudden cold to boiling hot.
Right.
It's like you said, it's just a lukewarm to a little bit warmer to a little bit warmer. Pretty soon the frog goes, oh, crap, I'm dead.
Well, it's like the church. A little compromise here, a little compromise there, a little compromise here. And that's what it is. Compromise, it's taken in steps. It's taken in steps.
Okay, we got to, with Pastor Sean, we got to do a show on that. Just on that, because what I've seen and being in the ministry for 20 years, and you too, this whole, the church has just slipped into this warm, fuzzy, feel-good, God's going to bless your socks off, and he's a cosmic genie, and he's going to give you all these things, and I just want to vomit. It gets me so upset because I said this on a podcast the other day. A bunch of pastors are getting together, and they were kind of all patting each other on the back, going, I feed 2,400 people a month, and, well, I do this, and, and blah, 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 and they're all saying, yeah, okay, praise God, but they're all just patting themselves on the back. And I said, you know what? Why don't we start talking about what the real issue is, and that's a sin issue, and that people are going to hell, and that we're not good people. We're sinners that need a Savior, and Jesus Christ paid the price by dying on a cross over 2,000 years ago for your sin, and if you don't accept the free gift of grace He's given to you, you are going to hell, period. Nobody likes to talk about that anymore. It's like, hey, that's a little too hard to, why are you so harsh? What are you talking about?
Because they're trying to build the church in their own strength rather than letting God build His church.
Their own image.
Yep. They're trying to build in their own strength. They want to use marketing strategies and gimmicks and so forth like that.
Exactly right.
Rather than being, what did Paul tell Timothy? Preach the word in season, out of season.
Out of season.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's it.
Right.
And
Right.
honestly, I think it's the filthy lucre that the Word of God talks about.
Yes.
This is what they're
Oh,
after.
yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
the ravenous wolves.
Yes.
Because they say, well, man, if I preach the truth, I'm afraid that I won't get as many donations,
That's
and
right.
as many people may not show up, and so you're taking it upon yourself to help God. Well, you're not building God's church anyway, because if it's not founded on, if the people are not worshiping
Right.
in both spirit and in truth,
That's
if
right.
the truth is missing,
That's right.
it's not God's church anyway.
No. And that's not, I mean, you got a church like, I'm gonna name Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. I mean, that guy has been afraid to speak about Christ being the only way on Larry King and on Oprah, and can gay people get into heaven? Oh, sure. Yeah, if they're born again. Okay, and they're not practicing their homosexuality, yes.
Right.
But I mean, he doesn't preach sin. He doesn't preach justification.
He doesn't even open the Bible.
No.
I don't even know that little thing that they do in the beginning. This is my Bible, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But he never teaches out of it.
Yeah, it might be a magic wand that he's wearing around and he throws it off the side.
I mean, he mentions certain circumstances out of the Bible to kind of fit his narrative.
Right. That's exactly it.
And that's pretty much it. He might say something about Daniel or about Joseph, or have a great attitude because when Joseph, when he was in jail, he was positive. They may not have never let him out. The cook may have forgotten about him if he gave him a bad attitude.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're nice to people, and but that's as far as it goes.
It's true, though. I'm laughing because you're so spot on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and that's what's so pervasive in the church. I was talking to Pastor Sean earlier. We go to the same church, Connection Church in Corona, and I've got Pastor Jeremy there, and Pastor Kevin called me today, and I hadn't been there in a couple of weeks, and usually I'm always the same place, the same spot, and sitting right by Pastor Sean, his wife, and he called me right before I came here. And I'm like, how cool is that a pastor will take the time to say, we missed you at church, how you doing? You know what I mean? And so that you don't have, because these guys, the other guys are so busy about, they want to count their money, get as many people as in, but they really care about their people. And Pastor Jeremy preaches the word. He preaches right out of the Bible about sound doctrine, and it is, any of you guys want to find a church in the Corona, Riverside area, Connection Church is awesome, just absolutely awesome. We're getting a little short on time. I want to ask you a couple things. You also talk to women. A lot of women are coming to you for advice on men.
Yeah, I get requests from women that know me because we, just in conversation, they bring up situations and so forth like that, and I'll tell them, and even like my nieces and so on like that. So, there's a saying that I guess I kind of came up with. My mother told me this about women.
Yeah.
But I say it about men. Nobody knows men better than another man.
That's right.
I mean, we've been in the locker room with them, playing sports. We know the stuff that they do and they say when there's no women around.
Exactly.
And that's who they really are.
Yep.
And so nobody knows men like another man, and especially one who's not so young.
Yeah.
That's moved past that childish phase and has actually grown up into emotional and spiritual maturity as well.
Exactly.
So that's important to seek information and bounce things off of those guys.
No, absolutely. And so will come to you basically and just say, listen, help me understand my guy.
Right.
He's doing A, B, and C.
Yep.
And you can look at that and say, well, he's doing A, B, and C because I've been there.
Yep.
I done that, or I know enough men that have been there and done that. And I think I think there's got to be a way that we can reach a lot more women and not say we're going to lord over you, but help them understand we're different creatures.
Yes.
And that's another thing that just drives me crazy about how the society media is trying to push this, like you said, this narrative of male and female being the same. No, we're not.
It's hurting women.
It's killing women. It's
women
killing
are
men.
more depressed than they've ever. They're more unhappy than they've ever been in society.
Really,
a lot of them are on antidepressants and things like that. That's why most of them have a dog. Because that's their relationship.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's so true.
Yeah, they all got that little dog.
Yeah.
Because that's their relationship. Because they don't know how to dwell with a man.
Right.
Because all the advice they're being given from those factions who are really seeking to destroy and put enmity between the man and the woman, it doesn't work.
No.
And they keep thinking that, well, I just need to get a man, which is also feeds into why they're pushing that demure male.
Right.
Because they're telling those women, no, your problem is that men need to be like this.
That's right.
You just need. And here's the thing. When they follow that narrative and they get that weak man, they hate him.
Exactly. Goodbye. Yeah.
When they get a man in their image, a guy who they can tell how he ought to be, and that weakling, it's okay for a little while, but when he does everything they tell him to do and he kowtows to their every wish, they resent him.
Sure they do.
They start to resent him.
Big time. Every time. Because they don't really want that.
Nope.
And neither does a man want a woman acting like a man.
They're going against their own biology, and they don't understand it.
Thank you.
And that's why it doesn't work. And it will never work.
Nope. And we're like, I mean, you just think it from the top to the bottom. Our brains are wired totally differently.
Yeah.
I mean, so when they try and say, we're all the same. No, you're not. No. I mean, come on. Let's go to the Olympics and see who's going to win the bench press competition every single time.
Right. I'm going to start coaching women's basketball. I'm going to have a bunch of transgender women on my team. I'm going to win a championship.
Every time.
Every year.
Yep.
It's just going to be a blowout. It won't even be close.
Exactly.
I will have so many championship trophies.
Gee,
the winningest coach ever in women's basketball.
I mean, it's sad, but it's so true. I mean, when I found out, and this is the joke of it, that I don't know, Pastor Sean, if you remember this, they let a guy in as a woman fight in the, I think the UFC.
Oh, Joe Rogan talked about that.
And I'm like, what?
He was pissed.
Oh,
he was so mad about that.
I'd be freaking pissed too.
He was like, dude, and I heard he was beating the crap out of her, manhandling her.
Yes. I mean, I was like, well, what do you expect? A man is beating on that girl. You cut off his junk. He's still a man.
Right.
He's still got testosterone in him.
Right.
And they're stronger upper bodies by far. Women are strong in their lower bodies, but men are by far stronger in their upper bodies.
Upper body is not even close.
And just for a lot of reasons, women tire more easy because they have more body fat. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
That's why the women's boxing had to go down to 2-minute rounds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they can't make the 3 minute. They get too lazy. They can't. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Professional women's boxing went to 2 rounds. 2-minute rounds now.
Wow.
Yep.
See. I mean, and so again, they're trying to push.
They can't do it. No, they get tired.
No, they just get tired.
Yeah, they're laying on each other most of the round.
Yeah, right.
It's just like past the third or fourth round, they're done.
Yeah, well, probably hugging each other, going, you
won't hit me, I won't hit you.
Yeah, right. You hurt my feelings last round.
Let's just take it easy for a minute.
That was like a chauvinism, maybe. I'm sorry. It's just kind of funny.
Some guys do it too.
That happens.
That silent agreement, like
right.
You won't hit me, I won't hit you.
Right. You know that happens. How could people get a hold of you that want to, look at your shows, or can you put your phone number out there where they can contact you?
You can contact me through my YouTube channel is on hold a little bit, but it's still there. The stuff that's up there now, it's Poor Homie, meaning for men in French.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
7 to 70. So for Poor Homie, 7 to 70.
Poor Homie.
Yeah. For
and
men,
how do you spell that?
So P-O-U-R, then H-O-M-M-E, just like on the cologne bottle.
Perfect, man. I love that.
7 to 70.
And I was saying earlier, I mean, we've got to start doing a series of stuff together because there's so much to talk about. I mean, this hour flew by.
Oh, absolutely.
And we are like down to our last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So this is Deron Malibu McBee for The Issues of Life, which I forgot to mention in the very beginning. The Issues of Life. Please tune in next Tuesday. And I look forward to seeing you guys with my awesome guests, Anthony Marshall, Guy, our director, and Pastor Sean in the control booth. May God bless your day big time. Don't forget to vote. And keep your head down out there. All right, guys. Take care. See ya.